So we are going to be talking about Brittney Griner. Brittney it says Brittney Griner pleads guilty to Russian drug charges, but denies she intended to break the law. As it reads, Brittney Griner pled guilty to Russian drug charges on Thursday. It's like this was 5 days ago. She faces up to 10 years in prison if convicted. As previously reported, Brittney was detained while entering the country after officials found vape cartridges containing hashish oil in her luggage. I'd like to plead guilty, Your Honor, but there was no intent. I didn't want to break the law, Brittany told the court. Brittany asked the court for time to prepare for a statement. This comes within days of a letter she wrote to President Biden, which I will also read, pleading for his help to get her home. She is set to return to court on July 14th. At this moment in time, it is July 12th. So, I think this just like is reminiscent of I don't know if anybody remembers the Ball brother who got detained in what is that, China, who him and some other people basically took stole some stole some glasses from what is it, a Louis Vuitton store or something like that, and they were about to be facing like major jail time for stealing because China don't play that. People from America who go to other countries just seem to somehow forget that other countries take small things um, very in a very heavy-handed way. Like the small things that we take for granted out here because this is supposed to be a free country, a country of freedom or whatever. Other places definitely do not. They don't play about it. And it took matter of fact, it took Donald Trump. It took Donald Trump doing certain type of tactics and saying things to get the the Ball brother. I believe it's Jello back to America while he was being detained in China, and ultimately that was successful. And he did the same exact thing with ASAP Rocky when he was detained in where was he detained? Can't remember. Can't exactly remember, but he got in trouble for basically getting into a fight with a crazed. I don't know if it's a fan. It was a fan or something like that. A fan kept just, I believe, either putting his hands on him or something like that. But it was Sweden. There we go. It was Sweden, and yeah, he got into a altercation, and basically they did something to where they threw him in jail instead of the person who was basically harassing him. And I believe that was just another plot to keep a person from the United States, basically, um, just to prove a point and everything like that. And then again, Donald Trump had to basically go through negotiations, and ultimately, except Rocky was able to be brought back to the United States under certain in a certain type of way. So now we are now talking about a black woman being basically thrown in a Russian jail. Now this circumstance is a little different. Now, if you guys remember, Russia is currently in a war with Ukraine. We're gonna just connect the dots here. See, it's already enough that a it's already enough that a black woman is basically being detained in another country. So I'm just gonna like try to set it up as best as I can, and you tell me when y'all tell me if I'm wrong. Brittany Griner is a black American woman, right? Brittany Griner has believe she has a mother and a father. Probably grew up with just one parent, maybe the father, maybe the mother, or maybe it was maybe she has a maybe both of her parents stayed together and raised her. So that's already difficult right there. A black family household and teaching a child right and wrong, right? Um, Black Americans in general already have a target on their back, a threatening nature that has been put on them by a certain type of society in America, right? Raising her in elementary, teaching her that hey, this is wrong and this is wrong. Raise her gradually going to middle school and finding out about things she didn't know before. From middle school, we get into high school where it's probably your toughest challenge yet, growing into a young teenager, right? And then when uh when she successfully gets out of when she successfully gets out of high school, graduates high school, um, she is successful enough to go ahead and go to college. That is a new battle. That is a new testimony, right? All this while being a woman, which women already are battling for their rights, like fighting for their rights. And then she's a black woman, so a black woman has much more rights that have not been, given to her. That when we really look at the spectrum of things, it's just a long overdue process of things that black women deserve, right? So when we speak about her profession, we're talking about basketball. Women's basketball is not respected. I think the most exciting thing I've ever watched in my life is women's college basketball. College basketball, let alone men's college basketball, is probably the most exciting type of women's basketball I've ever seen. Right? So she goes through high school. She perfects her craft as a basketball player. Perfects it, perfects it, perfects it. You know, um, the spotlight is put on her because of the type of athlete she is. I'm not sure if she was an All American or not. But in turn, she takes that to college. And in college, she's a spotlighted basketball player. The cameras are on her. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she went to Oregon, the University of Oregon, and played there. And she was the talk of the town and everything, right? So now, when we start to get into the professional aspect of things, this is just where it goes downhill. This is just where it goes downhill. Let me tell you. Let me tell you that WNBA players, I don't know how much they get, but they are not paid enough. There have been so many talks about WNBA players not being paid very well, not getting the same amount of pay stipend the way the NBA players get. They're put on TV just like the NBA. They but their viewers are lower than the NBA, and this in turn turns into a thing where WNBA players basically have to find other ways to get paid because they're not being paid well in the WNBA. And there are some incredible players in the WNBA. It's just I don't know why, but they don't advertise the WNBA the way they advertise the NBA, and that's a concerning thing to me. I don't really understand it. I don't really get it. Like you put if we're talking about the NBA gets put on this pedestal. They're on like different channels, different corners of the world, um, jersey sales, logos on different things. The coverage, the media coverage that the NBA gets is just over the top and everything like that, right? And then the WNBA, and then we start talking about the WNBA. It's like, well, they barely get coverage at all. They don't have there's no such thing as a WNBA TV. There's no such thing as high selling. I do WNBA players even like? Do they even have jersey? That do they even sell jerseys for the WNBA? I don't think so. But you start to get what I'm saying. It's just not the same as the NBA. You have your stars. You know when you watch the NBA, they basically put the stars on the forefront. They tell you who the stars are: LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kawhi Leonard, so on and so forth. When I watch the WNBA, they don't give me, they don't tell me who their star players are, who the representatives of the WNBA are. Like I have to like really really go Google search this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like for instance, I know Sue Bird is an amazing, like she's probably one of the top players in the WNBA. Of course, the OG Lisa Leslie. I remember Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops. Those are like some of the OG players. Diana Taurasi. What is that girl's name? Candace Parker. They're those. I don't know the representatives of the WNBA because market they don't market who like the representatives of the WNBA are. Like the WNBA doesn't have a uh 75th anniversary team of players that represent who they are or anything like that. Do you get where I'm going with this? So like I said, back to what I said. So WNBA players don't get paid that good, and they don't get paid that good enough to where they have to find other ways to get paid. And that in turn means that they have to go and play overseas. Because overseas is where the money is for the WNBA players, basically, or women's basketball players. At least overseas, they care enough to pay WNBA players and men's basketball players what they're worth. You know, everybody has a chance. No one person is better than the other. But I know if excuse me, I know if like I know if like if somebody like I remember when what is his name? Stephon Marbury literally went to China and made a whole new career for himself and played basketball there and got paid what he was worth and literally built a whole new like career for himself. Allen Iverson went across the pond and literally built a whole new career for himself. Like when you go over like basketball is like number two in America. Basketball overseas, I'm sure, is like somewhere at number four or something like that. It's not even the top sport, but they treat it like it is over there. I believe, you know, they put, of course, soccer is first in other countries, and basketball. I don't even think they care for football in other countries like that. But yeah, so once we start to speak on that, women's basketball players have to go overseas, play because they get paid. So that's what do you think Brittany Griner was doing in Russia? She was in Russia to get paid because she wasn't getting she not making as much as she would in the WWE. And you mean to tell me I'm being like I'm sure it was just a mistake, but when you're from another country and they're trying to make an example out of you, sure they will do all they can to keep you there, and that's what's going on here. Um, she and she said she had wrote a letter to she wrote a letter to the president. So let me see, let me find it really quick, and we're just gonna read that. Read that letter she wrote. Okay, so it states. I'm gonna show y'all the letter. Quick. Says, as I sit here in Russia, in a Russian prison, along with my thoughts, and without the protection of my wife, family, friends, Olympic jersey, or any accomplishments, I'm terrified I might be here forever. On the 4th of July, our family normally honors the service of those who fought for our freedom, including my father, who is a Vietnam War veteran. It hurts thinking about how I usually celebrate this day because freedom means something completely different to me this year. I realize you are dealing with so much, but please don't forget about me and the other American detainees. Please do all you can to bring us home. I voted for the first time in 2020, and I voted for you. I believe in you. I still have so much good to do with my freedom that you can help restore. I miss my wife. I miss my family. I miss my teammates. It kills me to know they are suffering so much right now. I am grateful for whatever you can do at this time to get me home. Man, this is sad. But as I stated, they're really going to use this as an example. And and the president just sent Ukraine about another what is it another $1 million for for the war. He done already sent like 2 million, 2 million maybe more to Ukraine. So it's like now Russia is not going. I don't think Russia is going to let up on this on this Brittany Griner thing. I don't think they letting up at all because they just want you. They want to hold on to this as much as they can. They want to hold on to this for as long as they can. Like I said, I think it's just a thing of like even though I think I read that like vape vapes in Russia are legal. So it's like after you hear that after you go read up and do your research on that, it's like what are they it's like what's the point of this? What's the real point of this for real for real? Yeah, hopefully she gets to hopefully something happens to where she can, you know, be released. It's just looking like it's gonna take some time for that to happen. She might actually have to sit behind the wall and be be there in another country, which is just terrible. She's just missing her whole entire family. And of course, she doesn't speak the Russian language, so they're just probably just laughing and making all types of comments in Russian. So that's a scary thing. It's just terrible. I hope something good comes of it. I think I seen something else before I just get off of it completely. Seen something else. I was looking through here and I saw quickly. real quick. I don't know where it's at. I just seen it somewhere. Just seen it somewhere. Okay, yeah. So it says, let me just put it up right here. I just found it. All right, it says that the ongoing legal saga of WNBA star Brittney Griner continues to produce interesting updates, and the latest involves her freedom in exchange for a notorious criminal. According to recent reports, the attorney for incarcerated arms dealer Victor Bout says Brittney Griner could be released in exchange for his client's imprisonment in Russia. Steve Isuzu, the U.S. attorney for currently incarcerated arms dealer Victor Bout, recently stated that Moscow, Russia, is prepared to release Brittney Griner from custody if the U.S. government agrees to a prisoner swap with Victor Bout. Bout is currently serving a 25-year sentence in the U.S. for his severe crimes that earned him the nickname the Merchant of Death. Speaking about the potential prisoner swap, Zuzu spoke on the process, saying it really isn't complicated. The initial discussions of a prisoner swap involving Brittney Griner and Victor Bout began shortly after she was detained as former diplomat and New Mexico governor Richardson was asked to help with the process due to its experience with international hostage negotiations. However, it should be noted that okay, so I think this was also 5 days ago. All right, so this is not an old thing. So this is probably what they're trying to be in negotiations for to get this guy who's I believe who's jailed here in America, and then have an exchange for Brittney Griner. Hopefully, they're still in talks for this. So that would be something. I also saw a comment that said like, and I'm not sure who. I believe it was her. I believe it was Brittney Griner who said it. That she actually said that if this was LeBron James, they'd be doing everything they could to free her and get her back to America. I don't know if it was her or if it was somebody else, but yeah, it would be so different if it was somebody like LeBron James who was jailed and being detained or being on the potential side, being put in prison in another country. They would be doing all they can because LeBron James is a big star and he's a man. So it's like, but really, you still have to think inside of your head like, how much would they really? We're talking about a different administration here, so who knows?